Well, good morning. It is 9:07. I'm Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand, who is under the weather today. And I hate that. Good grief. Was he feeling, we were just having this conversation. Mac Morey over there in the producer's booth, was he feeling bad yesterday? I hope he'll be back tomorrow.
I hope he will too. Yeah. No, I hadn't heard anything, but I know with kids and everything,
right.
It happens quickly.
It happens, especially around the holidays, because you get more of them in
of course.
Closed quarters because it's cold outside.
Yeah, it's cold. People are visiting, coming and going.
Yep. All right. So because of that, I have to do our normal, you and I, your theme song.
Yes, of course.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. That's Mac Morey.
Thank you.
Yes. And I'm glad you're here. And of course, Ken Weaver in the newsroom. I don't think he's in there at this moment, but we will be talking with Ken Weaver, of course, throughout the morning. He will keep us posted on the latest breaking news. It's been about maybe 3 weeks or so since I've been in here, and I can't find my headphones. So I'm using these little bitty iPod ear things with my little plug. Anyway, so if you hear feedback, that's why, because I have to crank it to even get it remotely near for me to be able to hear. And then it's not a good thing. I can't find my headphones. So,
and for those that are out of radio or audio, maybe industries, that is such a big deal. I need my headphones.
It is a huge deal because you need to be able to hear what you really truly sound like.
Yes.
And right now because these are not designed for broadcast. They're not designed for studio. They're designed for your iPhone, right?
Yep.
So I sound a little robotic.
Yeah, it's weirder than your normal sound in your headphones, not the same volume. No, I get it.
And every S is piercing my head.
Well, it sounds great to us.
Okay, good. I'm glad. And we have a lot of things to get into today. Now, I am these days working for an organization called Americans for Prosperity Tennessee. And I want to make that clear. I work for Americans for Prosperity Tennessee. I know that Americans for Prosperity Action, which is an aligned PAC, came out with a presidential endorsement yesterday. I don't have anything to do with that. That is not what I do. I work for Americans for Prosperity Tennessee. And what we're doing right now, we are fighting for parents in the state of Tennessee to be able to choose how and where they want their children educated. So we support the announcement that Bill Lee made yesterday about school choice. And so we're going to talk about that today. There's some other things we're going to talk about as well. I just saw a report that's been released regarding the Wuhan lab, COVID, and Fauci may be ordering some employees to delete and destroy records that had some warnings from the Wuhan lab long before COVID had the worldwide spread that it did. So I'm going to read a little bit about that report, and we'll talk about that on the show today as well. Now, yesterday, I had the opportunity to be in the room when Governor Bill Lee made his announcement regarding the school, what is he calling it? Educational Freedom Scholarships. I love that.
Yeah.
Educational Freedom Scholarships. Well, it will allow a parent to take a child from a failing school or a child who's not adapting well to the school that they're in. I mean, it could be a very good school, public school anyway, but the child for whatever reason is not doing well, whether they're being bullied, whether they feel intimidated. I mean, I can go down a list of things and a list of reasons why a child might not be doing well, and it has nothing to do with the school. But you take them out of that environment and put them in a different environment, and they can flourish. Only a parent will truly know if that is what is needed for their child, whether it's in a private school, whether it's in a religious school, or whether it's homeschool, whatever, or another type of school, like a charter school, which is a public school, but a charter school. A parent should have the power to make that decision, not the government making those decisions based on your zip code. Do you not agree? I agree with that, and I'm not even a parent. Governor Lee spoke about it yesterday, and I'm going to try to play it if I can remember how to do that. Stand by.
Because I've seen the lives of children changed when they had an opportunity to find the right school for their unique needs.
Right. There were examples after examples yesterday, and I would love your feedback as a parent. You've been listening to the stories now since yesterday afternoon when the announcement was made. You've been listening to the story. You've been listening to some of the details. How do you feel about this as a parent? It's already happening in Davidson County. It's already happening in Shelby County. And it's already happening in Hamilton County. What this push would be during the upcoming legislative session, beginning January the 9th, would be for universal school choice across the state of Tennessee, where every family in every county can actually use this to the benefit of their child. I saw a mother, I believe she said she was a single mother. In fact, hang on a second. I think I even have her name right here. I do. Ariel Mason. Munson. Ariel Munson is her name. Single mom. It looks like she has her own business because I have her business card right here. And her son, they live in Shelby County. Her son was not doing very well in the public schools. And if you know anything about Shelby County and you know about everything that's going on in Shelby County, all the shootings, all the gangs, all the crime that teenagers are right smack dab in the middle of, I would think as a parent with their kid going to public schools, they'd be very concerned about that kid getting involved in these teenage gangs and crime and what have you. Her child wants to be a paleontologist. Now, I have to be honest with you. The only reason why I know what a paleontologist is because I used to watch Friends. And Ross was a paleontologist. This young man, this young African-American man, and I only bring that up because there are people out there right now saying this is racist of Governor Lee to even propose something like this, and I say BS on that. Here is this family, this young student who is so well-behaved, so smart, so respectful, because I talked to him yesterday, who is flourishing because his mother was able to take him out of a school where he was not flourishing and send him to another school where he could thrive and where the standards were higher in education, where he could then meet those goals and even go beyond those goals and hit his dream of becoming a paleontologist. That's now on the horizon for this young man. It would not have been had he not had the ability to tap into the funding that was provided to him and his single mother. Think about this. Now, I attended a private school when I was younger. My sister and I did. Private Christian school in North Carolina. many moons ago. I am that old.
No.
But my parents both had a job to be able to afford to send us there. It was not cheap. It was also not in the county where we lived. It was in a adjoining county where they took us to school. So it cost money. We didn't have buses. So they had to take us to school every day, which was a 30-minute drive to take us and a 30-minute drive to pick us up every day. So you've got an hour there, round trip in the morning, hour round trip in the afternoon. So my father worked. My mother had a full-time job. My dad also had side hustles. Had his own little business. He had 2 or 3 businesses rolling all the time.
Nice.
I think that's where I get it. Because as you well know, Mag, I've got all kinds of stuff.
You're all around. You're moving around.
Moving and grooving,
yes.
baby. But that's where I get it from, is my father. But they did that so that they could provide money so we could get a good education. That's where they felt like we would thrive. They did not want to send us to public schools, and they didn't. This parent, again, was a single mom that I was describing to you a moment ago, Ariel Munson. Single mom. If she did not have the assistance of an educational savings account or a freedom scholarship or whatever you want to call it, she would have to work 2 jobs, maybe even 3 jobs to be able to afford to do that for her child. And then you have a child who has a mother who's completely worn out when you see her, or a mother that's not there because she's working all the time to be able to send her child to a school that meets the needs that he has. Do you see here? So it's not racist to propose this kind of plan. It's not favoritism to Governor Lee's billionaire friends or Governor Lee's Christian school buddies. This helps those who are not wealthy. This helps those families who have one parent only. And more importantly, and most importantly, it helps the child thrive in an environment where they were not or may not be thriving. That's the way I look at this. So 615-737-9986 is the phone number. 615-737-9986. You can also super text me at that same phone number. You can send me an email. I think it still works. Pamela at 997wtn.com. You can also find me on all the socials if you'd like. And stick around because I'm going to tell you how you can get involved in supporting school choice in the state of Tennessee. I'll give you a website address, all of that, because we want you involved. It cannot get done without you speaking to your lawmakers, without you showing up and showing out and saying, this is what we want for Tennessee. So all that is straight ahead. I'm Pamela Furr, in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Still got that crash blocking the Briley Parkway West on-ramp to I-40 eastbound, and then 24 westbound at the Blue Hole Road overpass in Antioch. The right shoulder blocked by a crash there. A sixth day of a ceasefire in Gaza. It could turn into more. We'll tell you about it at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you so much, Ken Weaver. I thought about you over the Thanksgiving holiday, not in a bad way, just in a football way.
Football.
I kept trying to say it.
Football.
My parents also thought I was having a stroke.
Yeah. My family thinks I am too. So did a library one time.
Really?
Yeah, right in the middle of the library. I just went, football.
Like Tourette's, almost like
Yeah,
Tourette's.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, and you know what big game is happening on Saturday for me?
Oh, yeah.
It's a big one.
It's huge.
And should I bet Matt Murphy on who's going to win that one? Because I have a feeling it will be the Georgia Bulldogs. That hurts. That hurts my heart.
It's going to be a good one.
Is it, or is it going to be a blowout?
No. Saban ain't getting blown out in this game.
I hope you're right.
He knows Kirby too well.
It's going to come down to special teams and turnovers.
Yeah.
Y'all, that Auburn game was crazy.
What the heck? Oh, my gosh.
That's
4th and 31?
That's where I go,
Yeah.
football. Just out of nowhere, football. Football.
There it is.
All right. It is 9:26. Ken Weaver with the news at 9:30, so be listening for that. Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand. He's under the weather. Hopefully he will return tomorrow. I'm glad to be in the chair. Glad to be with you again today. We're talking about Governor Bill Lee's educational freedom, scholarships, and this proposal for universal school choice in the state of Tennessee. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. Let's go to Bobby, who's on the line. Hey, Bobby, welcome to WTN and the Chris Hand Show.
Hey, Pam.
Hey.
Thanks for taking my call. Let me get this through to you. Go ahead and take Alabama in the points this week. But anyway, what I wanted to say is this London Lamar and all these Democrats up there, they always worry about what the little kids or the kids the children's going to do after school. It's not the government's issue to make sure the kid has something to do after school. It's
Right.
the parents. When I got out of school back in the day, hey, we went to the park. We played basketball, baseball, and stuff like that. But
Football.
Exactly. One way to solve the problem with the money is go back. Every child and parent has a right to send their child to whatever school they want to, public or whatever. If you can afford it, send them to a private school. That's my point of view. But here's the deal. The money issue. Let's go back and find out where the money is that the Biden administration gave to the teachers union. Where's that money at? Nobody even thinks about that or says anything about it, but I'll tell you exactly where I think it's at. They're holding it back for the election.
Well,
and, it was
obviously, Tennessee teachers' unions are 100% against this proposal by Governor Lee. They are not for it at all. They're kicking and screaming because they know this will then take money from them, right, and put it directly with the child where it belongs. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Stan in Nashville. Hey, Stan.
Hey, I haven't been keeping up with this, but I know you have. What effect will it have on people that are currently homeschooling their children?
So I believe that is a good question. I don't have that answer. This is a guess. I would venture to say that they would be able to tap into that funding maybe next year if this passes to be able to continue to keep their kids in homeschool. Don't mark me on that, but I think that's the way that would go.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. Let's go to Mike. Mike's a truck driver. Hey, Mike, welcome to the Chris Hand Show.
Good morning, Pamela. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear your voice. It's always pleasant to hear you first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
Two questions I have. Aside from all the political PowerPoints, my question is, are we sort of abandoning the public school system by creating this because we're sort of leaving the problem in the public schools and getting the decent kids out of school and paying for them privately? And if that's the case, what's going to prevent government regulation from taking control of the private schools?
Well, here's what I would say to this. First of all, there's been a problem with public schools for years. Have there not been? Especially in the state of Tennessee. I don't know that you're abandoning the public schools. If your child is doing well in whatever public school they're in, there's no reason to take them out of that public school. There are some really great public schools here in Tennessee. There are some really great ones in Williamson County. There's really great ones in Rutherford. But if your child isn't thriving in that school, you should be forced to keep them in that school?
No, I completely agree that we should start focusing on the quality of our education system in general rather than trying to spread it out and trying to I'm all for helping people out. I'm a lifelong Republican. I thought about this particular question when I thought about how are we going to bus these kids to these private schools? Are we going to start having public busing or the school bus system?
I think the parent is going to take the kid to the private school. Would they not?
You would think that on a small scale, but when this thing starts getting into a macro scale, you're going to start having public schools. Bus systems trying to advocate for trying to get these kids to these public schools when enough of them get spread out. And that's kind of where I came to the point of, if we get enough of these kids spread out through these private schools and all of a sudden the school busing system is doing that, what's going to stop the political system from taking control of these private schools if, in fact, that the public policy does switch sides?
Well, here's what would keep that from happening: the people of Tennessee.
That's kind of what my whole point was to focus on that.
Yeah.
We have to force the parents to get more involved in the public schools they're in and kick these teacher unions out. There's no reason why teacher unions should be focusing on telling.
Don't disagree with you, but at this point, Mike, we can make a difference now with universal school choice, and we can continue to fight to get a better education system here in Tennessee. But we've been doing that for years, have we not? And in the places where the school systems have not been great, Shelby, Davidson, and some in Hamilton County, we've already implemented these education savings accounts and school choice, if you will. And it seems to be doing well, at least from the testimonials that I heard from people yesterday at this announcement. I am way late for news. I had forgotten all about a clock in radio. It's 9:33. I apologize. Time for news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Tell you about the warm-up on the way. Right now, we're kind of heating up in traffic, if you will. Got the on-ramp to I-40 eastbound block there from Briley Parkway West. And then a crash still blocking the right shoulder 24 westbound at Blue Hole Road there in Antioch. A sixth day of a ceasefire in Gaza as another round of hostages are expected to be released later today. Meanwhile, negotiations underway to extend the ceasefire. A frantic search underway off the coast of southern Japan after a U.S. military helicopter crashed. U.S. officials haven't confirmed any details, but the Japanese military says 6 crew members believed to be on board that Osprey when it went down. And another sign of recovery from the pandemic, U.S. life expectancy starting to tick upward. Figures released overnight by federal health officials show an American child born today living about 13 months longer than one born during the pandemic. 74.8 years for males, 80.2 years for the ladies. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey folks, Paul Winkler here. One of the things I like to do for investors is educate them, because the more educated I believe that you are as an investor, the more peace of mind you have, the less you worry, and the more successful you're likely to be as an investor. So here goes another education. If we look at a lot of these investment portfolios, like these target date funds out there or portfolios put together by big mutual fund companies, they'll often use something called a total market fund. And you think, wow, I own the whole market in one mutual fund. Matter of fact, there's a really popular video out there on YouTube that says you can get by with just a couple mutual funds and you can be totally diversified. Nothing could be further from the truth. What's going on here is this. One of the things we know as an investor is that you have small companies out there and you have large companies out there. You have growth companies and you have value companies. I taught this in a previous video. We expect more return from small companies than we do large because they have to pay more to use your money historically. Value companies have to pay more to use your money historically as well. Now, what happens with total market funds is they weight based on the size of the company. Well, that would mean that a bigger company would represent more of the portfolio. So graphically, it would look something like this. The fund would look like this. That there's a ton of money in really big companies and there's almost no money in really small companies in those portfolios. So it's not really diversified. Do they own them? Yeah, they own them, but they almost have no money in them. So when these do really well, you're not really getting the benefit from it. What we would be better served doing is investing in various areas of the market and holding different types of funds to be more balanced between these areas. That's what academic research shows us, is if we can hold these areas more separately, then we end up with a better risk-return experience. So this is one of the things that we teach people. We like for you to understand this because the more you understand it, the less you're pulled astray from the investing industry that's typically all about selling you things. Yeah, total market fund, it sounds really good. Not necessarily so great in practice. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more and learn more about investing so that you're a more educated investor, why don't you take us up on a free 15-minute phone call. Go to paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com. You can set up one in any of our offices, our 10 offices around the Nashville area. There's one near you, most likely. Set that up. Come see us. We love to educate investors. I think you'll be happy you did.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ominous kind of music.
What are we talking about next? Where are we going?
Spies. It sounds like music from a spy movie. All right. Yeah. Where are we going with all this? That's a good question. I'm Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand is off today. He is not feeling 100%. So hopefully he will return tomorrow. I got the call about 6:05. Dan calls. Pam, I need you. Chris sick. Can you come in? There was a curse word. And then maybe one more curse word. And then I said no. And then I hung up going, why did I just say no? I don't know. I'm not awake yet.
Like,
so
I'm
then
still
I called
tired.
back. Yeah, called back. Yes, I can do it. So that's why I'm here today. And glad to be here and glad I'm getting your feedback on this proposal from Governor Lee. He announced yesterday, he presented his Education Freedom Scholarship Act of 2024, and it's the administration's legislative proposal to establish statewide universal school choice, along with members of the General Assembly. Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally was there on stage. He's done something to his foot. I don't know. He was in this big cast thing. I don't know.
I did see that.
Yeah, I don't know what he did to his foot. I should have asked, I guess. But he was on the stage. And then, of course, Cameron Sexton, the Speaker of the House, was on stage. Jack Johnson was not there. He had some business out of town, but he did join via video to give his statement, of course, on this proposal. There were Tennessee families in the audience. There were education stakeholders, which I think those would be teachers and principals and that sort of thing, homeschoolers, all of those folks. It was a crowded room. This legislation, it aims to provide every Tennessee parent with the opportunity to choose the right education for their child while prioritizing families with the greatest need. Now, somebody called in the last segment and asked a question. That was an interesting question. He's like, well, what's going to happen if you get so many kids that are tapping into this program that you're going to collapse the public schools and then they're going to be demanding busing and then it's going to need more money, et cetera, et cetera. I want to point out that we're talking about 20,000 education freedom scholarships. So it's not every student is going to get this. It's those who need it and who need to go and take their kid to a different educational facility so that they can thrive, right? So it's on a 20,000 rolling first come, first served basis. I mean, you have to apply for these scholarships. And how will that affect Tennessee schools? I did a little bit of research here. There are in the state of Tennessee 1,001,000, let's see if I can say this right, 1,001,916 students currently enrolled in K through 12 schools here in Tennessee. I believe that is correct. I mean, and we can do a breakdown of white, black, other minorities, and what have you. I don't know that matters. So 20,000 education freedom scholarships is not going to collapse the public school system here in the state of Tennessee. But those who have the greatest need, which will be prioritized first, not the wealthy, those who have the greatest need will get it first, according to the governor, if this law is passed in the 2024 legislative session. Now, I want to encourage you to do something. Now, I do, full disclosure, I work for AFP Tennessee, Americans for Prosperity Tennessee, the state chapter. I am a grassroots engagement director. That means I, from the parent over in East Tennessee to the dad, single father here in Middle Tennessee to the grandma in West Tennessee, I engage with you and help you find a way to get your voice heard by people like Governor Lee, by people like Jack Johnson or Cameron Sexton or whoever your lawmaker may be. Together, we make the loudest noise, right? So I would like to encourage you to go to the website. Let's see, I'm going to make sure I get this right. Go to the website, Tennessee Choice. I'm not getting it right. Stand by. I just had it. Tennessee, tnschoolchoice.org. tnschoolchoice.org. There you can sign a petition that says, Governor Lee, we want school choice passed in the state of Tennessee. It's so easy. It's so easy to get involved. tnschoolchoice.org. And we'll make sure that the governor and your lawmaker sees that information. There are distractors out there, or detractors out there. In fact, it's a Democrat response that I guess you could say is absolutely typical, right? I heard Dan play it this morning. I'm going to play it for you now. You're going to hear people like London Lamar and John Ray Clemens and those, I would say, small numbers of Democrats here in our legislature. We don't have a lot. And those we do have, they're trying to scare you into thinking this is not what it's all cracked up to be. Let me see if I can remember how to play audio on this here computer.
Vouchers are a scam.
He's proposing to rip off Tennessee taxpayers simply to subsidize private school education for his wealthy friends and the wealthy few.
So we are talking about public dollars, taxpayer dollars, going to private institutions.
If you come after our public schools, we're coming after you.
Democratic lawmakers call the Freedom Education Scholarships a scam.
This is going to be on the taxpayers whose property taxes are going to increase in addition to their tax money going to private schools.
They fear this expansion could defund public schools.
If you as a parent choose to send your child there with your own money and you want them to get an education that is inferior to a traditional public school, by all means.
Now, I don't know who made that last statement. That might be Ramesh Akbari, who is, I believe, a city council member here in Nashville. To actually, I'm going to play that one more time. I want you to hear what she said. If you want to spend your own money, listen to this again.
Child there with your own money and you want them to get an education that is inferior to a traditional public school, by all means.
That's inferior to a public school. I can tell you this, Davidson County Metro Nashville schools have been failing our students for decades. That is an interesting statement. And by the way, if indeed this is Ramesh Akbari making that statement, taxpayer dollars are my dollars. I should have a say in where my tax dollars go. I don't have children, but I still pay property taxes. I pay property taxes that are going into a system that continues to fail our kids in Metro Nashville, Davidson County. I have no issue with my tax dollars going to a single mom or a single dad who's trying to give his kid or her kid the best education possible and laments that they live in Davidson County. Here's an opportunity. Of course, they are already able to tap into it in Davidson County, but here's an opportunity for them to take that scholarship and find another school where their kid could flourish. It's 9:50. I see Carl's on the line. Hey, if you want to get on the line, we'll take your calls and your comments on this. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. You can call that number. You can super text that number. I'm going to untie my tongue during this break. And when we come back, we'll take your comments. And don't forget, go to the website, tnschoolchoice.org, tnschoolchoice.org. Let our legislators hear from you today. It's 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's the Chris Hand Show.
Hospitals under cyber attack. These stories and more coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, yes, I know that story. Now, I'm not going to preempt you, as they say, but after Ken Weaver reports on that story, we may talk a little bit about that because there have been a lot of cyber attacks lately that have been disconcerting. And quite frankly, I don't think they've made it to the, headline news, if you will, in the mainstream media. That's why Ken Weaver is one of the best in the country, and you will hear from him again at 10 o'clock on Super
Checks
Talk.
in the mail.
Merry Christmas. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, 615-737-9998. I just went blank. 9986. Thank you. God bless America. All right.
I'm not going nuts.
I need to make a quick correction. So Ramesh Akbari, I think I'm saying the name properly, is not a city council member. She is a state senator from Shelby County and is the minority leader of the Senate. So, oops, I apologize. No disrespect intended. I thought for some reason that name rang a bell to me for city council, and I was dead wrong. So I'm not opposed to being dead wrong. I wanted to correct that. All right, 615-737-9986. Judy in Hermitage is on the line. Hey, Judy.
Hi, Pam. How are you today, hon?
Fantastic. Thank you.
I want to identify myself first. I'm conservative to the core, Christian, and totally Republican. But I want to offer you and 33 years in public schools in the classroom.
Yes, ma'am.
And 7 years of that doing the 120-day contract we're allowed to do. And I just want to share another idea with you all.
Sure.
If we're trying to reach the neediest children, the ones who need it the most, who's going to help those parents fill out those forms so they can get their child in line to get this? I mean, are we just picking them out of a hat across the state?
Well, I think they get to apply for those scholarships.
Mm-hmm. So who's going to go and help them do that? Who's going to go to that house?
You don't think they can read?
Absolutely, a lot of them can't.
You're saying the parents can't read.
I'm saying the parents
All right,
can't.
well, then that is actually not a bad idea then to offer help to those families if they don't know how to fill out the form for the scholarships. Sure.
To get to them and to make them to realize this is available to them.
Yeah.
Because, Pam, they don't know that, hon. They don't.
All right.
Now, let's talk about something else. Who's going to get them to these private schools? Because I tell you, private schools don't offer you bus.
Some do.
Some do. My grandchildren spent spent their total life in private school here in town.
Mm-hmm.
Never once were they offered a bus. We had to take them, pick them up.
Right.
And that's not available like you think it is.
Well, so here's the only thing I can tell you, Judy, and on that note, I have to go because it's 10 o'clock. Thank you for your phone call, and these are great questions that you have. I will tell you in the private school that I went to, they did offer van service to pick up kids that were within a certain mile radius. We weren't in that mile radius, so we couldn't tap into that. But there were times that my parents could not get us to school. So do you know the principal would actually get in his car himself and would pick us up and take us to school from time to time. So I think those problems can be worked out. Those are good questions, though. Very good questions. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, in for Chris Hand.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Some hospitals in this country are under cyber attack. Elizabeth Schulze saying it's impacting patients who have surgery scheduled.
Ardent Health Services, a major healthcare provider that operates 30 hospitals across the country, says a ransomware attack forced it to take its computer network offline and to divert ambulances and patients, temporarily close some ERs, and reschedule non-essential surgeries. Hospitals schools in at least 4 states, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and New Jersey, are affected.
Ardent says the investigation into the attack is ongoing, but also said in a statement that patient care continues to be delivered safely and effectively in its hospitals. Crime in Tennessee. Police in Nashville expanding the way you can report a nonviolent crime online. The Citizen Online Reporting System, or CORE, has been used for non-injury crashes, but now it can be used to report things like shoplifting, fuel drive-offs, dine and dash, lost property, or package theft. Dispatchers will transfer callers to an 800 line that will send a link to the caller's cell phone to complete the report. An aviation breakthrough. For the first time, a transatlantic plane flew using only sustainable aviation fuel. Here's ABC News transportation correspondent Gio Benitez.
This was a major milestone in reducing greenhouse gas emissions from airplanes. Virgin Galactic was just able to fly a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, so a huge plane from London to New York Tuesday using 100% sustainable fuel, much of it made from used cooking oil. The founder of the Virgin Group, Richard Branson, was on board. It's the first time a commercial flight has flown across the Atlantic on 100% sustainable fuel.
Sustainable aviation fuel is almost $4 more per gallon than regular jet fuel, but you got major airlines like Delta and Southwest saying they want to replace 10% of jet fuel with sustainable aviation fuel by 2030. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
I wanted to touch on the history of Tethered and kind of how it came about.
There was a handful of us that were already using similar equipment. At the time, however, you couldn't just go to the store and buy saddle equipment. It just didn't exist. And selfishly, we just were making gear that nobody else would make for us and that we wanted ourselves. And our goal was just to make enough to break even. Fortunately for everybody involved, it took off. It's got an appeal. People really liked it.
When you think of a saddle, that's what I think of. That's the first name that I think of when I hear about a saddle.
For me, the reason I got into it was I'm hunting public land, and most of the time I'm going pretty deep. Being lightweight and mobile was huge. I walk in with a pack and my bow. That's it. The more I did it, I was like, man, there's so many features here that are helping me improve as a hunter, where I can take different shot angles and stuff. And I'm going to tell you, I feel safe with this rope all the time.
Yeah.
From the ground up, I'm hooked in. If I fall off this thing, I'm just going to swing a little bit. And I think the learning curve is small. It's just about getting comfortable with your equipment. It's the biggest thing. And for me, it's repetition and then fine-tuning that to meet my needs. And that's the cool thing. What I like and what might meet my needs might be a little different from you. And even though we're doing the same thing, you can tweak it to meet your needs. And I really like that aspect about it.
But we've done a really good job of just innovating and creating products that don't exist. You're seeing the growth of the sport. You're seeing the innovation. And you're seeing all of these cool things that we make, and it's because we actually use it.
Government is the problem. Ronald Reagan made those statements years ago. Chris Hand uses that as the opening to his show, and I think that is powerful. What a powerful way to start hour 2 on the Chris Hand Show. I'm Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand. He is under the weather today. Hopefully he will be back tomorrow. But I'm enjoying my time here Yeah, it's good to see all the familiar faces.
I know, this is so great.
It's old home week for me. I love it. And I still feel very much a part of this family, so thank you for... I am the redheaded stepchild.
Literally. Yeah.
Literally, yes. But thank you for allowing me to be here today. We do have a lot of things that we want to talk about. But, of course, I have to acknowledge Brother Ken there in the newsroom.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course... the producer extraordinaire, Mac Morey. When the
moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie,
that's Mac Morey.
Hello.
All
Good
right.
to be back with you, Pam.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so one of the topics of the day, and I know I did this last hour. We'll talk more about it this hour because a lot of people are very interested in the proposal that Governor Lee announced yesterday. We knew it was coming, and so he announced the full plan yesterday about the Educational Freedom Scholarship Act of 2024, universal school choice here in the state of Tennessee. And it is certainly something that the organization that I now work for, Americans for Prosperity Tennessee, is behind 100%. We want to hear from you as Tennessee families. If this is something you can get behind, if this is something you can support, tnschoolchoice.org, tnschoolchoice.org. Let your voices be heard. Sign that petition, and we'll make sure that your lawmakers, our lawmakers, see what you think should happen in the legislative session in 2024. Now, I heard from so many families yesterday during this announcement. I spoke to teachers during this announcement who said, I have a student right now in my classroom that was doing so poorly at the public school that he was attending. And I don't want to get too specific because that's not my story to tell. Obviously, it would be that student and that student's mother or father or both that could tell all the details. And it wasn't so much that the public school itself was failing. It was that this child didn't fit well with the class that he was forced to attend and with the teachers he was forced to learn from. Does that make sense? I mean, not every kid is going to do well in government schools. That's just the way that it is. Every child is different. And unfortunately, in this country, you're forced to learn based on your zip code, not based on your personality, your psyche, your talent, your knowledge. None of that applies. Just your zip code. And that is doing a disservice to our children, is it not? And I find it very interesting. I mean, there are even some Republicans out there who believe that this is a bad idea. No one, by the way, is abandoning public schools. No one is abandoning a public school education. There are some kids that are going to public schools right now who are thriving, who are doing so very well and are on track to get scholarships to go to various universities all across the country. And here in Tennessee, if you want to stay in school here in Tennessee and continue your education, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a 2-year program, the Tennessee Choice Program, where your tuition is paid for if you stay in Tennessee? For 2 years, right?
For 2 years, yeah. 2 years, yep, that's it.
So, I mean, we're doing everything we can to help kids get a great education here in Tennessee. This is only going to help those who are struggling. And by the way, I need to make sure, if you were listening last hour, conversations were made about transportation to and from private schools, since some private schools don't have buses or what have you. A parent can use their ESA funding toward anything that has to do with your child's education. Tuition, books, even transportation. So think about this. If you have several students in your community that are tapping into ESA accounts, they could use that to, I don't know, rent a van and pick up all the kids and take them to where they need to go. I mean, I'm just throwing ideas out there. The point is the parent gets to decide how to use that money for education. Now, it would have to be used for education. The question was, are we going to help parents who maybe don't know how to fill out these applications? And I would venture to say the answer would be yes. That's an easy fix. That's an easy question to answer. But that is one I think the lawmakers should also figure out a way to meet that need as well. 615-737-9986 is the phone number if you would like to get in on these discussions. Now, I'm not an expert on all of this. The information has just been released yesterday. And obviously, as I have said earlier, as a grassroots engagement director with Americans for Prosperity Tennessee, this is one of the issues that we will be fighting for, to just get it over that hump and get it passed in 2024 for Tennessee kids. That's what we're fighting for. You want to join me in that fight? I'll tell you how you can do that later. But right now, let's go to John in the borough. Hey, John, welcome to the Chris Hand Show on WTN.
Hey, Pamela, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Good. I am all for the vouchers and getting kids that are struggling into private schools, but there needs to be some stipulations. One, it doesn't need to go to families, one, that is illegals, and it needs to go to working families that are contributing to society, that are paying taxes. It doesn't need to go to someone that's living on government assistance or anything like that. If their parents are paying taxes and they're working and their child can pass a test to show that they can keep up in a private school, then that's who it should go to first.
All right, let me ask you a question. I just want to push back just a little bit. You said if anybody is on government assistance. So you're telling me that someone who is working but is still below the poverty level, who may be tapping into SNAP, I think it's SNAP programs or whatever.
No.
Because that's what you said.
No,
you said
no.
Hang on, let me finish. And then then you can correct me. So I thought you said anybody who has any kind of welfare. And SNAP would be a welfare program.
Not if they are working and paying taxes, but they are below the poverty level and they're getting SNAP benefits or they're getting food stamps or whatever, that they are contributing. I'm referring to the ones that are living off of government assistance that does not work, that they get a check every month because they've got multiple kids. Mm-hmm. They get food stamps, and they don't get up and go to work when they are capable of going to work.
So through the application process, you want there to be some sort of screening process where you could see if that family really does care about their kids or not, whether they're working or what have you. You don't want them to get that $7,000 scholarship for their kids and it go toward something else.
Oh, I'm not saying that it will go towards something else. The money doesn't need to go directly to the family.
Sure.
It needs to go to the institution that they're going to be going to. So the government, if they're going to a private school, then the government needs to send that school the money and not to the family. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is if you're not paying taxes and you're not working and you're not a contributing member to what is funding these benefits, then you should not be entitled to them.
All right. Thank you, John. I appreciate your phone call. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Kevin in Hermitage. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Good. Glad to hear from you. So a couple of things that popped in my head. I think the biggest reason that some of the folks are left, whoever they are, school board, teachers union or whatever, I think the reason they're having such a big uproar and problem with it is because it's calling them to task. I think it's exposing what's going on there, mm-hmm. and all of a sudden you talk about pulling their silver spoon out of their mouth, and I think they're having a little problem because they're going to be losing the money.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with you on that at all, Kevin. That that's why they're screaming, "What? How can this be?" By the way, currently 3,400 plus families have applied for the program that's currently out there, the current school choice option, which is in Hamilton, Davidson, and Shelby County. 2,400 plus students enrolled in participating non-public schools out of those 3,400 plus families. And right now, as it stands, 91% of the parents are satisfied with the program. That's huge. There are going to be some Democrat lawmakers out there who are going to tell you that that's not true. They're going to tell you that it's failing, that the kids that were pulled out of public school and taken to non-public schools are doing worse in those non-public schools. And I believe with all of my heart that is a bold-faced lie. Just saying. 615-737-9986. Mary's on the line in Middle Tennessee. Hey, Mary.
Barry.
It's Barry. Okay, gotcha, Barry.
Yeah. First thing is this. I like to say that the first priority ones that should be chosen for this year would be people that have been on doing their homeschooling for God only knows how long, but they've been doing it for themselves and that. And those people, prospectively, are being hit more than whatever because they're already taking and costing them to school their kids, etc., all the equipment that they need and whatever. And the thing about it is they should be able to take that money and put it to the use of their children. And that, I'm talking about homeschooling and that because they've been doing this for a while. And another thing, too, is this. It needs to be looked into the manner on our media, ABC, NBC, and CBS, that's all I take and have access to, is why are these here media people pushing along with a certain portion of these here teachers and everything, which I am hearing through the grapevine, a portion of them. Now, all teachers are not bad. My daughter happens to be a teacher. She's a wonderful one. She does her job. But the thing about it is those here and these here teachers and everything, there's a certain portion of them that's being funded by China from what I'm hearing. $15 million. I don't know if you've heard that. I heard it on that one of the things that gives the news. But the thing about it is this, on Channel 2, I was watching this myself last night. They had that barcode the person could take and whatever, and on a yes or no for the vouchers. Well, the vouchers took and got a yes vote on it, 70-something%, and the no was only 20-something%. Mm-hmm. Now, there's already a big hit right there saying, hey, they want it.
Yep.
There should be.
Tennesseans want this, Barry. Tennesseans want this. I believe taxpayers want this. So it, to me, is a no-brainer for it to be a yes vote down the line from our lawmakers in the state Senate and in the state House for 2024. And that is certainly, again, something that we are fighting for. tnschoolchoice.org if you want to sign that petition so that your lawmakers can hear from you right now. By the way, I know quite a few who are actually listening right now to your comments about these school choice options. So feel free to call us and make your comments, full phone lines, but one or two may hang up during this commercial break. 615-737-9986. I'm going to read some of your super text messages here in a moment as well. I'm Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hospitals under cyber attack. Israel-Hamas war update. 10 more hostages expected to be released today, and figures released overnight show a change in Americans' life expectancy. These stories and more at 10:30 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Change for the better or for the worse?
You'll just have to wait to find out, Sister Pamela Furr.
Well, I certainly will. Ken Weaver, thank you very much.
Hopefully we make it to 10:30.
Yeah. Have we hit the life expectancy? Find out in the next 5. If I draw, let's see, that I shouldn't even joke. Never mind. I'm not going to joke about that. That's a little too serious. It is, though, 10:25. I am Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand. Glad to be with you today. I don't even know. We're going to continue to talk about the Education Freedom Scholarships, that proposal here in the state of Tennessee, because I've got full phone lines on that. Thank you so much. 615-737-9986. But I have to ask the resident Chiefs fan over there. There's a headline, and I guess I need to know, are you sick to death of the headlines? The news story from the Daily Mail, a moving van was seen outside of, and I don't know if it was Taylor Swift's house or what's his face's house, Travis
Kelce.
Yeah. But, I guess the rumors are they might be moving in together.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know. But are you sick to death of that storyline?
It's getting a little frustrating sometimes, but, it's still fun. I mean, people are talking about it, so I'll take it. Interesting. Wow, that's serious.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I mean, the parents are meeting soon. I think they were supposed to meet last weekend at the game.
The parents?
Yeah.
Like from one side?
Yep.
That's serious.
I know. That's when it's starting to get serious. Seriously.
Because your parents have met
yeah,
your
for sure.
ladies' parents, right?
For sure. Yep.
Is that when you knew this is probably going to be long term?
Yeah.
When y'all decided to do that?
Yeah, when you're intertwining both families together at events. That's something serious.
That's a
for
big
sure.
deal.
That's a big deal.
It's been so long since that's happened to me. I don't remember, so I had to ask.
No, it's an important step and not one you take lightly. So yeah, we'll see. I'm excited.
Right.
I'm pumped. Let's go.
You are?
Oh yeah.
Love is in the air. I guess. I mean, I'm happy for those two, but just all the public scrutiny can set them up for failure. So I hope they're surrounding themselves with good counsel.
Seriously.
As they say. All right. 615-737-9986 is the phone number as we continue to dive into this proposal from Governor Lee that he announced yesterday. And quite frankly, I mean, I think that he probably considers this his most important work before he leaves office, before he leaves the governor's office. And you can say a lot of things about Governor Lee. There are those that accuse him of being a rhino. There are those that accuse him of being too soft or what have you. But he does believe in kids. He certainly believes in families. I've seen him believe in men who have made bad choices in life and have gone to jail for it. He believes in investing in those men so that they can turn their lives around so they don't end up back in jail, when they're released at some point. So he believes in that stuff to his core. And so this proposal, he believes, will help Tennessee families, and I can't disagree. So in the 24-25 school year, a total of 20,000 scholarships will be awarded on a rolling first-come, first-served basis. That's 10,000 scholarships available for Tennessee students who are at or below 300% of the federal poverty level. They may have a disability or are eligible for the existing ESA pilot program. That's another 10,000 additional scholarships available to a universal pool of students entitled to attend a public school. So that's how that is going to play out in the 24-25 school year. In the 25-26 school year and beyond, universal eligibility for all students entitled to attend a public school. If applications exceed available scholarships due to funding, lower income public school and returning scholarship students will receive priority. So that's how that will play out. your thoughts. Again, full phone lines. I'll take those phone calls when we come back. You can also super text us at 615-737-9986. There are other things in the news that we will get to before this show is over. Hunter Biden, is he going to testify before a House committee? What did I hear that correctly? There are other things too, and I'm looking for it, but apparently there's a report out there that says that documents may have been ordered deleted regarding COVID, the Wuhan lab, and all of that stuff. I'm using the S word in a FCC regulated way, may have been destroyed months before COVID actually was released into the masses. So that's very interesting to me. I saw it a few minutes ago on Fox News or something. So I'm trying to find that because I'm going to give you all the details on that story as well. So stick around. I'm Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And a ransomware attack is impacting systems of hospitals spanning across 4 states this week. Ardent Health Services says that its systems were affected in 30 hospitals. Those in Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and New Jersey. Those hospitals, according to Ardent, having to divert ER patients and cancel non-essential surgeries. At least 1 crew member is reported dead. There's no confirmation about 7 others said to be on board that U.S. military helicopter that crashed in the ocean off southwest Japan. An Israel-Hamas war update. 10 more hostages expected to be released by Hamas today. And figures released overnight by federal health officials show American children born today living about 13 months longer than one born during the pandemic. 74.8 years for males, 80.2 years for females. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey folks, Paul Winkler here. One of the things I like to do for investors is educate them, because the more educated I believe that you are as an investor, the more peace of mind you have, the less you worry, and the more successful you're likely to be as an investor. So here goes another education. If we look at a lot of these investment portfolios, like these target date funds out there or portfolios put together by big mutual fund companies, they'll often use something called a total market fund. And you think, wow, I own the whole market in one mutual fund. Matter of fact, there's a really popular video out there on YouTube that says you can get by with just a couple mutual funds and you can be totally diversified. Nothing could be further from the truth. What's going on here is this. One of the things we know as an investor is that you have small companies out there and you have large companies out there. You have growth companies and you have value companies. I taught this in a previous video. We expect more return from small companies than we do large because they have to pay more to use your money historically. Value companies have to pay more to use your money historically as well. Now, what happens with total market funds is they weight based on the size of the company. Well, that would mean that a bigger company would represent more of the portfolio. So graphically, it would look something like this. The fund would look like this. That there's a ton of money in really big companies, and there's almost no money in really small companies in those portfolios. So it's not really diversified. Do they own them? Yeah, they own them, but they almost have no money in them. So when these do really well, you're not really getting the benefit from it. What we would be better served doing is investing in various areas of the market and holding different types of funds to be more balanced between these areas. That's what academic research shows us, is if we can hold these areas more separately, then we end up with a better risk-return experience. So this is one of the things that we teach people. We like for you to understand this, because the more you understand it, the less you're pulled astray from the investing industry that's typically all about selling you things. Yeah, total market fund, it sounds really good. Not necessarily so great in practice. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more and learn more about investing so that you're a more educated investor, why don't you take us up on a free 15-minute phone call. Go to paulwinkler.com. It's paulwinkler.com. You can set up one in any of our offices, our 10 offices around the Nashville area. There's one near you, most likely. Set that up. Come see us. We love to educate investors. I think you'll be happy you did.
I am digging. It's 10:36. I'm Pamela Furr and for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to have you with us. Chris under the weather today. Hopefully he will be back tomorrow. Meanwhile, big head Pamela, or big hair, not big head, big hair Pamela. And it's all, I don't know. I'm not going to mess with it.
Go look at the big hair, Super Talk TV.
Right? Oh, yeah. We're on Super Talk TV, which you can find us on Facebook Live. You can find us on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube
and
TV.
YouTube.
Did I get them all?
Yep.
997WTN.com also. So this is the Pam got the call at 6:03 this morning look. Throwing things everywhere. Oh, my God. I got to go into work. Oh, Lord. So anyway. Down. Yeah. All right. So glad to be here. Mac Maury over there, Ken Weaver over there in the newsroom. 737-9986 is the telephone number if you want to talk to us today. You're more than welcome to do that. I want to just kind of make a comment on one of the stories that Ken's been reporting now for the last, I guess, 2 newscasts. And it's this cyber attack. I actually did a report on this for on one of my side hustles. I report for Westwood One and their morning show, America in the Morning. And one of my stories was this cyber attack on hospitals, and it seems to be growing every day. Ardent Healthcare, which I believe is based here in the state of Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. But I heard Ken say it's now 30 hospitals have been hit with this ransomware cyber attack. Do you realize what kind of position that puts hospitals in? I mean, they have to turn away ambulances. They have to turn away critical patients who need help because they can't treat them because they don't have access to their health records. That, to me, is a huge problem. And I don't know how you solve it. I mean, you have to stay up to date. You have to stay aware of what threats are out there. It's my understanding that Ardent actually had gotten a warning from, it's called CISA, which is cyber, the government contacted Ardent about 3 or 4 days before their first ransomware hit to warn them that they were vulnerable to a cyber attack. I think their response was, we are aware and we are working on trying to close up some of those vulnerabilities. And bam. Obviously, what they did not work. My sister is a certified ethical hacker. She's a white hat hacker. See, I think that's right. White hat hacker. So she's hired by companies just like Ardent to hack in and see where their vulnerabilities are. Do you realize, in my personal opinion, and if you've ever heard me at any time on WTN, you've heard me say this, I don't think the next terrorist attack is going to be a bomb. I think it's going to be cyber or an EMP type attack. that will just leave you helpless. If we are all connected by the internet, what's the most effective thing that a terrorist truly could do to shut down a country? Attack cyberly. Because if you can't buy clothes, buy food, buy fuel, if you can't get to a hospital where they could access your health records so they know how to treat you, that puts us back, decades? And I contend that we learned through COVID how people will panic and how people are not prepared if something like that were to happen. Do you have enough food that would last you a week or 2 or 5? Do you have enough water that could last you a week or 2 or 5? If it were in the dead of winter, do you have enough fuel that would warm you for a week or 2 or 5? And if not fuel, how about the firewood? Do you have things you could burn? Like Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway. They made fire. Do you know how to make fire?
Fire!
Do you have enough lighters that will sustain you for a while? I mean, and do you have things you could trade with? What happens if you can't, because a lot of places have done away with cash, they want you to use your credit card. What happens if you have no cash and you can't get your cash because the internet is down and all banks have been hacked and you can't get? What would you do? Do you have a plan? So these stories are, to me, alarming because we keep hearing them more and more every day. There was another story. I know Ken reported it. I don't have the details in front of me, but there was a water grid that was hit with a cyber attack. What happens if your electrical grid is hit with a cyber attack and you don't have electricity for a while? Do you have a plan? I'm just saying, might want to get one together. Meanwhile, here in the state of Tennessee, House Majority Leader William Lambert yesterday at the governor's announcement of the Educational Freedom Scholarship Act of 2024 said, quote, Tennessee is serious about student achievement. This is a bold idea that will empower families and change lives. This initiative, combined with our historic investments in public education, will launch a new era of student success in Tennessee. I think he's right. I think it is imperative to pass the Educational Freedom Scholarship Act of 2024. Do you feel the same way? tnschoolchoice.com. tnschoolchoice.org. tnschoolchoice.org. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. Let's go to Dan, who's on the line in Nashville. Hey, Dan.
Hello, Pamela. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely.
And I hope Mr. Hand feels better. I am totally for this, and I think it's really important that you can put your child in the school of choice, and I'm living proof of that. When we realized, I've been married 22 years, when we realized we couldn't have our own children, we decided to adopt. And we adopted a special needs child just for the specifics of their low adoption availability and people that don't want to do that. Well, he was in school A, and he was 15 when we adopted him. When he became of age to go to high school, he wanted to go to a public school, and we allowed that to happen. And he was coming home crying sometimes, saying he was getting bullied. So we put him from school B back into school A, and he continued to thrive. He felt comfortable there, and he could do his work there. He could concentrate. And as a proud papa, I'm proud to say he's now 28, has his own apartment, lives out in Kentucky. And so the bird has left the nest. But it is so important to pay attention to what your child's saying to you And I don't think it's right for them to be stuck into one school when they can thrive in another.
Absolutely. I think I even heard someone this morning use the word trapped in a school just based on their zip code when they could go somewhere else and thrive.
Wow. I mean, we were lucky enough, and this program is going to help so many kids, and I think this particular program is going to thrive in the future. I don't think it's just going to be a one-time trial thing. There are so many kids out there who can thrive in one school and may not thrive in the other.
Right.
And if you have a choice to move your child to where you think they're going to do best, I think that's the best thing for them.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your phone call, Dan. I appreciate it. I keep getting a text message from 2407. Is that how we ID people?
Yeah, that's
They
it.
keep saying, fix the problem, fix the schools, fix the problem. They should not pass this. They need to fix the problem. But I don't think this person, gentleman or female, I don't know what it is, 2407, I don't think you're listening. It's not always the school that's the problem. Hear me again. It's not always the school that's the problem. The school may be a great school. Even a public school could very well be a great school here in Tennessee. But for whatever reason, your child may not be doing well there. For whatever reason, there could be a whole host of reasons why your child is not doing well in that school, where everybody else might be doing well, but that child is not. Why then should you punish the child when you could remove the child from that situation and take them someplace else where they could thrive? But right now they're forced to go to that school or trapped into that school because of the zip code. That's what we're saying here. And the schools that have been problems for decades, nobody's fixed them yet. You know, when you're talking about liberal cities, Nashville, liberal cities, Memphis, you keep throwing money at the schools and nothing changes. Well, let's start throwing money at the kid instead, and I bet you're going to start seeing changes. Thoughts? 615-737-9986. We got Bruno in Mount Juliet. Hey, Bruno, thank you for holding on as long as you have.
Hi, thank you. So this is one of my hot button issues. You know, we've had 50 years to fix the schools in this country, and it hasn't happened, so we have to assume that it won't. So the purpose of a voucher system really should be twofold. One, to extract kids out of an indoctrination mill that our public schools have evolved into. And the other one is to, for all intents and purposes, displace those portions of the public school system that cannot reform itself with the combination of portions of the public school system that can reform itself, plus private, for-profit, religious, various types of other school options. The money should follow the kids wherever they go, even if the money's going into the remnants of the public school system. And it also should be done in a phased way, so that, because if you had, let's say, an $8,000 voucher today for kids, there would be more kids coming out of trying to get out of the public schools than there would be options for them. So you do it in a phased-in way.
Which is that's what they're doing. And that's what they're doing, yes.
Okay, that's great. And then to another point is that there was a guy before me who said that it should only go to people who are paying taxes. I would say it should only go to people who are here legally, because even the ones who are not paying taxes, their kids are consuming public school resources, and I would prefer those kids to go to school options, whether public or private, that are superior to, let's say, what you're going to find in a place like Nashville in a poor-performing school. At the end of the day, if we do this right, we will have so many options for our kids. We'll have schools that are for co-ed, schools that are just for boys and girls, schools that are like little military academies, schools that are religious-based. We'll even have schools that are, across the whole country that specialize in setting up schools for children at places of work, so that a parent who works 20 miles away from where they live could drive their kids with them to work, plop them off at the school at the school that's adjacent to the workplace, and it just solves so many problems. And we would wind out with such a better school system. You'd have
which in
STEM-focused schools.
and in turn, Bruno, it makes us a better society.
Absolutely.
Makes us a better, our future looks so much brighter that way. Bruno, thank you very much for your phone call. Go to tnschoolchoice.org and tell them exactly what you just told me. I think that would be fantastic. It is 10:51. 615-737-9986 is the phone number if you'd like to get in on this conversation. You are more than welcome to do so. It's an ambitious effort to take school choice statewide from Governor Bill Lee. And I think it's a good one. By the way, Sarah Huckabee Sanders was there yesterday as well. That was cool. She's looking good. Love her.
She is looking good.
Yeah.
She sounded great, too.
Yeah. 10:51. We'll be back in a moment. I'm Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I wanted to touch on the history of Tethered and kind of how it came about.
There's a handful of us that were already using similar equipment. At the time, however, you couldn't just go to the store and buy saddle equipment. It just didn't exist. And selfishly, we just were making gear that nobody else would make for us and that we wanted ourselves. And our goal was just to make enough to break even. Fortunately for everybody involved, it took off. It's got an appeal. People really liked it.
When you think of a saddle, that's what I think of. That's the first name that I think of when I hear about a saddle.
For me, the reason I got into it was I'm hunting public land, and most of the time I'm going pretty deep. Being lightweight and mobile was huge. I walk in with a pack and my bow. That's it. The more I did it, I was like, man, there's so many features here that are helping me improve as a hunter, where I can take different shot angles and stuff. And I'm going to tell you, I feel safe with this rope all the time.
Yeah.
From the ground up, I'm hooked in. If I fall off this thing, I'm just going to swing a little bit. And I think the learning curve is small. It's just about getting comfortable with your equipment. It's the biggest thing. And for me, it's repetition and then fine-tuning that to meet my needs. And that's the cool thing. What I like and what might meet my needs might be a little different from you. And even though we're doing the same thing, you can tweak it to meet your needs. And I really like that aspect about it.
But we've done a really good job of just innovating and creating products that don't exist. You're seeing the growth of the sport, you're seeing the innovation, and you're seeing all of these cool things that we make, and it's because we actually use it.
Officials at Nashville International Airport say, okay, we get it. They've announced something to try to alleviate all the traffic tie-ups that we saw over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. I'll tell you about it at 11. A Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know what it could be if it's not opening up more lanes of traffic.
You'll just
I'll
have
be
to
listening
wait to hear Sister Pamela Furr.
at 11. Thank you, Ken Weaver. I will tell you, though, holy smokes, it was crazy the day that I flew out to go home for Thanksgiving. Now, I got there super, super early, and the way I come into the airport is when you come from downtown Nashville into the airport, there's just that one lane. When you come from where I come, I can take back roads or what have you and get there, right? But I mean, that lane of traffic getting off of very close to Donaldson, that to get off to the airport, coming from downtown,
Nightmare.
2 miles,
I mean,
sometimes
seriously.
3 miles long, and you're just sitting there creaking up. Some people even get out of their cars and just start walking, which, by the way, they don't want you to do that either. They don't want you to do that either.
No, that is frowned upon.
That is frowned
Do
upon
not do that.
greatly, yes. Because that's dangerous. You could get hit, and we don't want that. All right. But, I mean, people are thinking they're going to miss their flight because they're rotting in traffic. So I'm looking forward to hearing that story from Mr. Ken Weaver right here at 11 o'clock. I'm Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Tell you about the temperature swing that we're looking forward to. Right now in Nashville International Airport officials say they have listened to the complaints about traffic and they're going to do something to try to make it better. They are going to open free short-term parking in terminal garages to alleviate traffic starting on Friday. So this means the first 30 minutes in Terminals Garage 1 and Garage 2 will be free for pickup. After that 30 minutes, they'll start charging you. A ransomware attack is impacting the systems of hospitals spanning across 4 states this week. Ardent Health Services said that its systems were affected in 30 hospitals in Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and New Jersey. Those hospitals, according to Ardent, having to divert ER patients and cancel non-essential surgeries.
Ardent saying in a statement that patient care continues to be delivered safely and effectively, but adding that it cannot confirm the extent of any patient health or financial data that's been compromised. In a separate incident, New York's Attorney General says that a data breach at a medical transcription service compromised the private information like social security numbers of up to 4 million people.
That's Elizabeth Schulze reporting. Another deadly U.S. military crash. Martha Radich says there's a frantic search underway.
It was an Osprey that went down. That is the aircraft that has a tilt rotor, so it can fly like a fixed-wing airplane or land vertically like a helicopter. This Osprey went down in broad daylight on a clear day near a small Japanese island in southwestern Japan. Japan's defense minister saying there were reports of an engine on fire before the aircraft made what they called an emergency water landing.
U.S. officials haven't confirmed any details about the crash, but the Japanese military initially said 6 people were believed to be on board the Osprey. There were reports of at least 1 confirmed fatality. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:05. I'm Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you're watching on Super Talk TV, you're seeing me slobber all over myself. I can't help it. Should I tell you? I mean, it's sad. I'm slobbering all over myself. I just saw some photos of former President Jimmy Carter at Rosalind Carter's funeral.
Oh,
they're laying her to rest today.
Yeah, of
and
course.
he just. I'm gonna have to change the subject. But if you want to see the photos, I hate that they took photos of him this way. I really hate it.
Yeah.
It just kind of popped up on my feed, and I was not prepared, and so the tears started. Sometimes I hate being a girl, but now I can cry tears for joy because I can park at the airport for free. Do you think that's going to alleviate the problem?
I don't know. Maybe a little bit, but I don't know, man.
I don't know.
You gotta
I
get
guess
there.
that they're doing what they can to try, but all I heard was free.
Yeah, exactly. Free. Okay,
Yay,
I'm in. All right.
My father, I'll tell this quick story, and then I want to get to back to the cyber security and cyber attack conversation, because there's actually a stern warning out there, and it goes to Pamela Furr. Will always tell you to be prepared, like every Boy Scout, Girl Scout out there. But free. My father is notorious for the free.
Loves the free.
I mean, so here's this 81-year-old man. He's 81 now. We live in Pinehurst, Southern Pines, Whispering Pines area of North Carolina, right? So there's golf courses everywhere. I mean, you look to the north, there's a golf course. You look to the east, to the west, to the south, there's a different golf course. You have Pinehurst number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 different golf courses just 3 miles up the road. My parents live across the street from Longleaf Golf Course. Then there's the National. Then there's the Talamore. Then there's I can go on and on. All within a 30-mile radius, all these golf courses. It's golf. So my father likes to find golf balls that people have lost,
yeah, of
right?
course.
So it's like treasure hunting for him. So over the years, he has collected thousands of golf balls and puts them in those, those plastic tubs you buy for storage, puts them in those storage bins. Thousands of golf balls. Wow. And then he'll, like at the end of the year, he'll donate them to like a kids program, a kids golfing program, And I'm like, Dad, we could sell those on eBay. What are you doing, man? No, I'm teasing. But he loves the free, right? It is like a treasure hunt for him. So when we were home for Christmas, and we decided, because, I'm on this weight loss kick, and my sister is doing the same, trying to be more healthy and all of that. So we said, no cake this year, no sweets. My mother is a diabetic. She has to do the shots every day. She's 88. Anyway, so no sweets in the house, right? That was going to be the rule. Well, my dad comes prancing in the house with this huge cake in his hand. Like, Dad, what are you doing? And he goes, $5. It was on sale for $5. I'm getting this cake. And we're just laughing. I believe that when the time comes to lay my father to rest, we're going to try to find a casket that's for free.
Exactly.
Because that would bring him great joy,
Course.
Anyway, that's my dad. That and 80 degrees inside the house, because they're both freezing. They're wrapped up in their blankets, and, I'm sweating.
Yes.
Oh, my God. I can't stand this. Let's open up a window at least, please. That, and then neither one. It's so cute and annoying all at the same time. They refuse to get hearing aids. Now, they have the money, because remember, Dad likes to buy things for free. I have a feeling if my sister and I figured out a way to con him into believing that he could get the hearing aid for free,
he'd
get it.
He'd do it.
No questions asked. He would have done it 10 years ago if we would just get with a doctor and go, tell him it's, you just for visiting me today, you get a free hearing aid. Just tell, and then my sister and I will pay for it.
What'd you say? It's free? All right.
Free for me. But they refuse, and they both need them desperately. And when we go in the house, that the TV is so loud because they can't hear, but it's vanity. They think they're those old-fashioned hearing aids when they're little teeny ones now, but they think they're going to be. At the same time, I say to them both, you don't go anywhere. Why does it matter? You would have better quality of life. And then, of course, the answer is, huh? All right, 615-737-9986 is the phone number. Now, this guy's name is Bode.
That's Bode.
Bode in Nashville. Bode, you are a BNA employee, are you?
I do. I work at the airport, and I'm going to tell you that when it's busy like that, the short-term parking is already full. So that doesn't even make any sense. The problem with the airport is the same as with every city planner and every city I've ever lived in, and that is they grow all these businesses and houses and everything, and then they improve the roads, widen the lanes, and all that. Why not do it at the same time? Or, better yet, widen the road before you add all these new businesses and create all this new traffic. And that's the problem with the airport. Whether you come in the top level, which is the departure level, the second level, which is the arrival level, or whether on the bottom where the valet is, you all funnel out to the same road, and it is a single lane.
Right.
And there's no way you're going to get that much volume through that airport. So that's what's really creating the problem.
Yeah, and and they're trying to fix it. Yeah, they're widening it. Yeah. They're doing all of that, but it's going to take a while. I remember.
Well, why not do it before you added all these new gates and new terminals and new? I don't know. What do I know? I'm just some dumb kid from Vegas.
You're just an employee, dude. But regardless, it's free parking. All right.
Yeah, if you can find a spot, you're going to spend 30 minutes just trying to find a spot.
That's true. Very true. All right, Bode, thank you very much for your telephone call. I appreciate it today. All right, 615-737-9986. We're going to get back to the school voucher proposal from it's actually not school vouchers. I just misspoke. It's an educational freedom scholarship.
Yeah.
Educational freedom scholarship for students. For students in Tennessee. It sounded like I had a bad accident there. No, I just hit the microphone. I'm sorry. All right. Earth will be bombarded by intense solar storms next year. Scientists predict we'll reach solar maximum in 2024. Now, that may seem like it sounds very dire. You know why? It is. Now, in radio, I know this because of radio. And if you've been in radio for any amount of time, is Ken Weaver back there? I don't know if he's listening. So if you've been in radio for any amount of time at all, especially AM radio, now obviously we're FM radio, I am very familiar with solar flares. And if by chance you still have the big dishes, if you will, to pick up your television, the dish net. There were those that looked like, big saucer kind of things that people would put in their yards. Now they're teeny. But solar flares would have an effect on signals, right? Because that is electromagnetic and whatnot. So even, let's say, our news, when we do national news, comes from ABC News, right? It comes from a satellite. And there are times that solar flares will interrupt those broadcasts or the signal, so you can't hear. All you hear is static for certain periods of time during certain times of the day, right? So and it still happens to this day. But what scientists are predicting, they're predicting, quote, solar maximum in 2024 with flares strong enough to cripple the world's internet for weeks. This goes back to what I said last hour. What happens when there is a cyber attack and you're without power or without water or without fuel for weeks? Are you ready for that? And what I said earlier was I believe that if you're going to be attacked, it's not going to be by a nuclear bomb per se. It's going to be a cyber attack. If there's going to be a terrorist attack in the near future in the United States, in my opinion, if you want to cripple the United States, it needs to be a cyber attack or an EMP. Now, I have all the confidence in the world in our military to preempt something like that. Please, Jesus. I also have all confidence in God above that he will protect us. And, if it's our time to go, it's our time to go. And I can go on down that spiritual rabbit hole if you want to. But the bottom line is, are you prepared to live through something like that? Well, now we're not even talking about a terrorist attack. We're just talking about living your everyday life and the sun spouting off those solar flares. And this one could be strong enough to cripple our entire internet system, not just in the United States, but around the world. So that would also mean that the United States' ability to do trade or trade information or intellectual property or whatever would be hampered as well. They're called sunspots. They can cluster together and form what looks like I don't even know how to pronounce this word, but they can clump together, and they're caused by massive changes in the sun's magnetic field. They shoot out too. So it's the flare that shoots out, and it shoots out massive explosions of energy toward the Earth, causing solar storms that can potentially damage satellites and disrupt the internet. Unfortunately, a new study reveals that this solar maximum is coming sooner than expected, most likely in early 2024. The new forecast comes from an Indian team of researchers and contrasts with the latest forecast from NASA. NASA puts the arrival of this solar maximum at late 2025. So that gives you some time to prepare. But who's right, who's wrong? They are predictions. I'm hoping they're both wrong. But what if the Indian researchers are wrong? Are you ready? The new study was led by, I would butcher this first name, but Dr. Nandy is his name. He's a physicist in India, and he said it is, quote, not possible to predict the intensity and the consequences of solar storms this early, but we should learn more as the new year approaches. The most intense storms can sometimes result in catastrophic orbital decay of low Earth orbiting satellites and disrupt satellite-based services such as communications and navigational networks. They can also induce strong disturbances in the geomagnetic field, tripping electric power grids located in high latitude regions. Now, they also create beautiful auras or auroras. So we can expect 2024 to be a good year for aurora hunters. I have to be honest with you. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, I was just hitting the Google machine here real quick.
What's an aurora? AURORA hunter. Never heard of it. Dr. Nandy and his colleagues have managed to come up with a new way to detect the solar maximum, but understanding it requires some basic knowledge about our solar system's life-giving star.
Aurora hunting is more than just a job. It's a way of life. It requires dedication, research, and determination to venture out into the night sky with the chance of bracing yourself for spectacular views.
I would like to see a spectacular view. All right. Well, the sun, and let's get back to basics. The sun is a huge ball of electricity, right? Electrically charged hot gas that moves, generating a powerful magnetic field, officially known as the dipole field. Now I feel like I'm going back to science class. Roughly every 11 years or so, the sun's magnetic field completely flips, meaning the north and south poles switch places. Ha-ha. This solar cycle affects activity on the surface of the sun, including the dark sunspots, which are caused by the sun's magnetic fields. I won't get into the rest. I mean, now it gets into all the radio stuff and the waves and the cycles of electricity and, all of that. Here's what I can tell you. At some point, guys, technology fails. Period. End of discussion. And if everything you do, every way that you exist is locked up in some sort of technology, you're screwed. If you don't know how to get from point A to point B without using your iPhone's Google Maps or Waze or whatever, you're screwed. And I find myself relying on that more and more every day. So what happens if the solar flares take out a satellite and your Google Maps aren't available anymore? Are you going to be able to get to the store to buy toilet paper? No, because you don't know how to get there. I don't know whether to turn right or turn left because my brain has not been used in quite some time. Think about you. I'm joking right now, but remember how people panicked during COVID? Think if something like this happens. Are you ready for it? Lord have mercy. It's 11:21. I'm Pamela Furr, in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Nashville International Airport officials say, okay, we get it. They've announced a plan they hope alleviates the kind of traffic problems they had over Thanksgiving. We'll tell you about it coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Sweet. Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 11:25. I am Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Received a text from a friend who's listening right now on one of our phone apps where you can listen to the radio show or you can watch on Super Talk TV. But he said, Pamela, I'm going out to get an atlas and candles right now. You're scaring me. Hey, I mean.
Not a bad idea.
I mean, okay, I don't mean to, I'm not talking down to you, Mac. I'm not at all. But have you used a map before or have you only used Google Maps?
Grew up with my parents using maps, paper maps, but I don't think I ever used one. But yeah, we would have to print out the MapQuest if we were going someplace.
You'd print that out.
Yeah, and then go, yeah. So I remember that, but I'm directionally challenged. Yeah,
Gotcha.
no, like Google Maps and my Apple Maps is, I need that.
Yeah, if it's
bad.
gone.
It's bad.
Would you know how to navigate?
No.
See?
Yeah,
That's
no,
what I mean.
it's scary.
All I use is the sun and shadows.
But see, I mean, do you know how to figure out which way is north?
I could probably figure that out because of the sun.
Maybe,
yeah, because I know where it rises and where it sets, but yeah. Yeah, it's scary. It's fair.
And for me, look, and I'm an old lady, and for me, I'm thinking, all right, if you had to say, Pamela, go east and blah, 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 my eyes would get real big.
Be like, wait, what?
Is that left or right?
Yeah, exactly,
yeah. And it depends on where you're standing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
is there a big dog tied to a tree?
Right.
Do I turn there?
Do I turn where there's the old water fountain or not fountain? What is it? The old water tower. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I turn at the water tower? Yeah. Turn west. Well, is that left or right? I mean, see, that's me. I too am directionally challenged.
No, 100%.
But I can read a map. So I do have a map somewhere, but it's an older one. I don't, if there have been new streets or new interstates that have been built, I don't know that it would have those in there. But you have to think about those things. I mean, you really, unless you were a Boy Scout as a kid or a Girl Scout, I don't know that they're teaching any of that anymore. Yeah. So, parents, you might want to sit down with your kid and say, this, friend, is a map.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a compass.
Here's grass. Here's the sky. Go outside.
Anyway, I mean, we're laughing, but that is...
That's real.
That is very real. And here's the other thing. If solar flares take out our electronics or an EMP attack or whatever, are young people going to know how to look somebody in the eye and ask, which way is east? I mean, but would you be able to talk to somebody? Because you're going to want to text them, right? So
yeah, 100%.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I find myself, I'm pointing the finger at me too.
Be like, all right, let me FaceTime my mom real quick. Oh, wait, no, I can't ask her.
Yeah.
Now I'm scared.
Oh, let me break out the card to pay for that. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't have $1. I'm not even sure what it looks like. You know what I mean? Because people don't use cash anymore. They just break out the card or use their Apple Wallet or whatever. All right. It is 11:29. I do have some other folks that are on the line that want to continue to talk about the governor's educational freedom scholarship program that was released yesterday. Obviously, there are lawmakers that are going to have to carry the bill and propose the bill in the upcoming legislative session, and they're going to have to go through debates, and all of the things have to happen in 2024. If you want to get involved in that fight, I also work for an organization called Americans for Prosperity Tennessee. I'm a grassroots engagement director, and if you would like to help us support the governor's universal school choice plan, just go to tnschoolchoice.org, tnschoolchoice.org, and you can help us. In fact, I'm even going to give you, I can't believe I'm doing it, before the news, I'm going to give you my work cell number. If you want to call that number or text that number and say, I'm a parent, I want to help. I'm a teacher, I want to help get this passed. I'm a student and I want to help get this passed. Whatever the case may be, call or text 615-308-7013. 615-308-7013, and we'll help you. How's that? It's 11:30. Time for news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We'll tell you about this temperature swing and the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville International Airport officials say they've listened to all the traffic complaints from Thanksgiving, so they're going to try to do something to help make it better. Starting on Friday, BNA will offer free and reduced parking for pickup in terminal garages lots 1 and 2. The first half hour will be free. After that, they start charging you up to $5 and higher. The hope is that curbside congestion will ease up. In addition to free and reduced parking, TDOT says it's going to speed up work on Donaldson Pike. And a 6th day of a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas wars. Another round of hostages are expected to be released today. There are still more than 150 hostages held in Gaza. Biden administration officials waiting to see if any more American hostages will be released soon. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey folks, Paul Winkler here. One of the things I like to do for investors is educate them, because the more educated I believe that you are as an investor, the more peace of mind you have, the less you worry, and the more successful you're likely to be as an investor. So here goes another education. If we look at a lot of these investment portfolios, like these target date funds out there or portfolios put together by big mutual fund companies, they'll often use something called a total market fund. And you think, wow, I own the whole market in one mutual fund. Matter of fact, there's a really popular video out there on YouTube that says you can get by with just a couple mutual funds and you can be totally diversified. Nothing could be further from the truth. What's going on here is this. One of the things we know as an investor is that you have small companies out there and you have large companies out there. You have growth companies and you have value companies. I taught this in a previous video. We expect more return from small companies than we do large because they have to pay more to use your money historically. Value companies have to pay more to use your money historically as well. Now, what happens with total market funds is they weight based on the size of the company. Well, that would mean that a bigger company would represent more of the portfolio. So graphically, it would look something like this. The fund would look like this. That there's a ton of money in really big companies and there's almost no money in really small companies in those portfolios. So it's not really diversified. Do they own them? Yeah, they own them, but they almost have no money in them. So when these do really well, you're not really getting the benefit from it. What we would be better served doing is investing in various areas of the market and holding different types of funds to be more balanced between these areas. That's what academic research shows us, is if we can hold these areas more separately, then we end up with a better risk-return experience. So this is one of the things that we teach people. We like for you to understand this because the more you understand it, the less you're pulled astray from the investing industry that's typically all about selling you things. Yeah, total market fund, it sounds really good. Not necessarily so great in practice. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more and learn more about investing so that you're a more educated investor, why don't you take us up on a free 15-minute phone call. Go to paulwinkler.com. It's paulwinkler.com. You can set up one in any of our offices, our 10 offices around the Nashville area. There's one near you, most likely. Set that up. Come see us. We love to educate investors. I think you'll be happy you did.
It is 11:37. I'm Pamela Furr in for Chris Hand. He is off today, not feeling well. Hopefully he will be back tomorrow. Thank you for the opportunity for me to be here. Back with the folks. Back with my friends, my family.
Getting the gang back together.
Yep. This is I can't forget not in love anymore. Right? Isn't that what this is? Forgetting.
Regulators? I don't know. Is it that? I don't know.
No. This is Michael McDonald. Forgetting. No, 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 no. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Anyway.
I think it's a different song.
I just don't know the words. Keep forgetting.
I know we'll get super text to help you out. I like whatever version that is, though. That's great. I need that. I need that.
It's my impression of Michael McDonald. All right. Anyway, Squirrel got distracted by the hip music here. And I'm glad because I've been reading during the break about these hostages that have been released from Hamas and some of the experiences that they went through. Now, Israel has asked that they not speak to the press because they don't want some of those stories getting out, possibly causing problems for those who are still being held captive. And I get that 100%. But some family members are speaking to members of the press. I think there was a French news outlet that had talked to a family member of a hostage. And one of the things that I think a lot of them are saying is that some of these hostages that were released are having a hard time getting back into the rhythm of life, just speaking in normal tones. They're speaking in whispers because they weren't allowed to talk, and so they would whisper to one another so they wouldn't be heard by those who were keeping them captive. So now that they've been released, they're still speaking in whispers because they're still terrified. One told a story of a 9-year-old who had been held captive. When asked, how long do you think you had been there? And that 9-year-old said, for about a year. Had been isolated for about 15 days in a room by himself before he was taken and put into a room with some other hostages. So think about that for a 9-year-old in complete isolation. I think with this same 9-year-old, at least with one of the children hostages, they held a gun to this kid's head and made him watch videos of torture that they would perform on other people, Hamas, and would say, with a gun to the kid's head, we're going to do this to you. We're going to do this to you. If you don't do what we say, we're going to do this to you. That same kid they also put on the back of a motorcycle, drove them up to, I don't know exactly where people would jeer and beat the kid. And they'd take him back and put him in isolation. I can't even imagine the horror, the fear that they went through and those that remain are going through. And every day that goes by, the families continue to pray, continue to hope that somehow, some way, their loved one will make it back to them. And then the real challenge begins because those hostages at this point will be suffering from severe PTSD. I mean, think about it. Just everyday conversation. You're just whispering. You've now been conditioned to and trained to whisper. Israeli police are even saying that extreme sexual violence and rape has been systematic with Hamas terrorists. Think about that for a minute. Young or old, doesn't matter with these hostages. Doesn't matter. It's horrific. They are monsters. They are evil. And I'm not sure Joe Biden gets it. That makes it even worse for me. Tough. Glad that these family members are home, those that have been released. But again, you're talking about real work that now has to be done with these victims. Childhood's robbed. Think about that too. A 9-year-old who's gone through something like that will never be the same. Never. It's up on Fox News if you want to see it. There's also some other tales from Daily Mail, Daily Wire, New York Post. You can find all kinds of information about how those hostages perhaps were treated during the time they were held captive. All right, 615-737-9986. I know that's a little heavy. Let's go to Sarah in Bethpage. Hey, Sarah, thank you for calling the Chris Hand Show.
Hey, Pamela.
Hey.
I was just going back to what you said about a cyber attack.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I want to say thank you to you and all of the other members on 99.7 for all that you do.
Thank you.
And I do believe that you are correct, that there is something coming. I hope that we can, like you said, our military and God and, can fight it off.
Right.
But I do think that there is something coming. I believe what you said. And not only our GPSs and our Apple Pay, but just basic communication from cell phones, because nobody has a landline anymore.
Nobody has a landline. That's no one has a landline. So are you going to be able to communicate with your loved ones in a different state? The answer is possibly no.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, will you be able to mail a letter? I don't know. Who knows? Because, again, if a cyber attack or, let's say, one of these solar flares or an EMP attack, it's going to destroy computer chips that are in your cars, so your cars aren't going to work. So, and that would include a mail truck. The basic things that we take for granted every day could be paralyzed by any of these things that we're talking about, whether it's a cyber attack, an EMP attack, or just a solar flare, or just, nature.
It would be taking us back many, many years, and who would be able to survive? Not many.
Not many. So be prepared. Even if you're prepared for a month, at least, you can figure out what to do in that month's time. I always say be prepared. I'm not a huge prepper, but I've prepped some. And, I think I could live for 3 days. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate your telephone call.
Thank you.
615-737-9986 is the phone number. Hey, Terry in Bell Buckle. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, yes. So I don't see any. I hear everybody talking about this voucher program, but it all sounds
good. It's an
good.
educational freedom scholarship program.
Yes, and the problem I have with it is the tax assessor. What are they going to do when they get all these shortfalls in the public school system? They're going to go after all the property owners to make up that shortfall, and that's going to be a problem.
Tell me how.
They're going to reassess the property. So whenever a county every year they figure out what their budgets are, and any shortfalls, they raise the equalization factor of your tax bill.
Why would there
That's
be a
how they're going to get it.
shortfall?
Because you're taking all these people, all these kids from the public schools, and you're putting them in private schools.
You're talking about 20. You're talking about 20,000 compared to 1 million kids.
20,000.
Yeah, it's just 20,000.
So it sounds
in the state of Tennessee.
But they're going to expand it. They want to expand it and do it statewide. So
that's what I'm saying. 20,000 statewide.
Right, and it's only going to be focused on the people that already have vouchers already.
It will not be focused on those who will have vouchers already. It'll be focused on those who have the greatest need in this first batch. From what I'm reading, I haven't seen all the true language, but from what I'm reading, from what is being proposed, 10,000 scholarships available for 10,000. This is just the 24-25 year. $10,000 scholarships available for Tennessee students who are at or below 300% of the federal poverty level, have a disability, or are eligible for the existing ESA pilot program, and 10,000 additional scholarships available to a universal pool of students who are entitled to attend a public school. That's the first year. Then the second year, eligible for all students to attend public schools. If applications exceed available scholarships due to funding, lower income public schools and returning scholarship students will receive priority. But I think it's still just 20,000. Now, I'm going to have to check on that.
Well, it's
taking the money out of Nashville. Then you're taking the money out of Nashville, and Nashville's going to have to raise their property taxes to support the underfunded schools there already.
I don't think that's how it's going to work. I don't have an answer on that property tax question, but that is a good one.
I mean,
and hang on. So, but I will ask that question because I know London Lamar is actually making that statement too, that this will cause property taxes to go up. And for me, I don't see how, when you're talking about taking money that already exists and taking that money to follow the kid instead of the public school.
So you're taking that money out of that school system, and teachers are depending, the school is depending on that for pay. So then they're just going to try to readjust.
But it's not taking it out of TISA funds, from my understanding.
Well,
that's not where it's coming from.
The kid is going to that public school now. So now that kid's going to leave that public school and go to a private school. Now that money isn't going to the public school no more. So now they're either have to cut their budget, which they're not going to. They're just going to say they need more money. Oh, the kids.
They may try.
They raise the property taxes.
Now, I don't doubt that a Democrat-run city would try to do that. I don't doubt that at all, because London Lamar has already stated that in her reaction to the governor's plan. But let me do some research on that, Terry and Mrs. Terry, and I'll be happy to pass that information along to you.
Yeah, we would really appreciate that, because we moved out of Illinois because they were doing crazy stuff, putting $20 million tax referendums over 15 years on people's property taxes in our towns, and then telling us that, the schools need to be fixed, but they were getting money to fix the schools, and they didn't do it. I would just really hate to see stuff like that happen here in Tennessee.
Well, where do you live?
We live in Bell Buckle.
Okay, so
we're in Rutherford County. Our property taxes doubled in the last 2 years. It's already doubled
right.
twice.
Yeah.
So here we go again.
I don't know that it's going to be a here you go again, though. So let's do some research on that. Why don't you guys stay in touch with me? I would be happy for you to just reach out to me on socials, Pamela at 997WTN.com. You can find me there, and we'll stay in touch about that, Terry, okay? And Mrs. Terry, I appreciate your phone call today.
Thank you.
It is 11:51. I'm Pamela Furr, in for Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 11:57. We just have, 2 minutes to talk to Matt Murphy? Hi, Matt Murphy.
Well, I mean, you can stick around. I've got 3 hours.
Yeah, that is to kill.
I'm happy to have you as a guest.
Well, we can talk about an event we're doing together tonight, actually.
Oh, that's true. I'm excited.
Baseline
Brewing,
Yeah.
formerly known as Bold Patriot.
Yeah, over
And
there in
they-
the L&N Market. Are you
Nice.
coming?
No, I had no idea. It's first time
You
hearing.
need to be there.
First time hearing Baseline.
I'll buy you a beer.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
That's
Starts
the
at
ticket.
6 o'clock.
Yeah,
We're
if
going
it-
to talk racing.
If y'all come around, I'll buy the first 3 people a beer.
How about that?
Whoa.
They got to come up to Matt and
this is
say,
what you do.
Rubbin's Racing.
Okay, first 10 people. I'll buy first 10 people a beer. But what you do is you say, well, you're number 11.
I'm so sorry.
You're right there.
Man.
They come in at 5:58.
Do you
You've already
see-
seen 11 people.
Do you see how Matt Murphy works
So
here?
I go.
Good
So I roll.
grief.
So you
all
want
right.
to you want to talk about the event tonight, not
Yeah.
the game this weekend?
Woo!
Yeah.
I want to know if I
You mean
can.
the
I'm
Titans
trying to
game?
figure out a
You're
little
talking about the
wager
Titans?
between the redheaded stranger, which is what I call you now
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't see you
Right.
as often as I used to. The redheaded stranger and Johnny B, my 2 Bama fans who are on staff, and myself. I'm the Georgia boy along
Yeah.
with Chris Webber.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out if there's some sort of, maybe we can figure it out by tonight. Some sort
All
of
right, some
friendly
sort of-
entanglement.
That's a good idea.
some-
Yes.
I like friendly entanglements.
You know what I mean?
I'm just saying. All right, I'm in, but just know that I'm not all roll tiding on you because I ain't sure how that game's going to play out. That's going to
Well,
be
I'm not sure how it's going to play out either, but I'm all go dogging on you. I mean,
roll dogs. How about that? Is that disloyal to my people? Roll dogs.
yes.
All
it is,
right.
but
Well,
that's
no,
okay.
it should be a good game. I mean,
Should be fun.
Heck, the Auburn game was a good game. Who thought
It's
that was
incredible.
going to happen? So yeah, we'll think of some sort of wager of
So
some
weird.
sort.
Those are weird games. There's voodoo in Jordan-Hare Stadium. A lot of voodoo in Jordan-Hare
a
Stadium.
lot of voodoo.
I don't know what they're doing, but you guys normally wax them at your place, and then
Yeah, it's just weird.
there's
Weird
just odd. But
juju.
yeah, tonight at Baseline, formerly Bold Patriot
Yeah,
Brewing, come
6
out and see
o'clock.
us at 6 o'clock.
We'll
We'll
talk
be
about
there
the racetrack
yeah.
and those kinds of things
Yeah,
and
should be a
how
lot
it
of fun.
may affect your tax dollars or may not affect your tax dollars, but tax revenue could
Thank you
be
for inviting me.
fantastic. You're welcome. All right, Matt Murphy coming up after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.